get started. Like I said, my name is Paris Prokopis. I'm an account manager here at MIG. And today we're going to talk to you about what's new with Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015. But before we begin, I have a couple quick housekeeping items. You can either listen through your computer speakers in voice over IP, just choose mic and speakers. And if you wish, you can also connect directly from your phone, just hit telephone to get the dial-in information from there. Later on, we will be having a question and answer period after the presentation. You can submit your questions and comments via the question panels anytime during the presentation, and then we'll try to get the ones we can answer thereafter. And if there's any that require any additional, more in-depth explanation, we may, we may set something up after the fact. So, in the meantime, here's our agenda today. We're going to talk a little bit about MIG and who we are, and then we're going to give you Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 overview. We're going to talk about system-wide, and then the web client, business intelligence, financials, distributions. Then we'll show all that in a live demo, and then followed by our question and answer period. Now, a little bit about MIG. We specialize in the implementation of financial and business management systems. We like to help our customers streamline their processes and maximize their productivity. Our solutions are Microsoft Dynamics GP, SL, CRM, Microsoft SharePoint, and Business Intelligence. We do have over 15 years in the business experience in the industry, and we're mainly focused from mid-market up to enterprise-level customers. MIG has many certifications. We are a Microsoft Gold certified partner, and we're recognized by Microsoft Business Solutions as a premier ERP VAR. We're BBB accredited, and we're also a GSA approved vendor. And you can also take our webinars for CPE credit. So, and if you wish to take this as CPE credit after the webinar is over, we'll give you an email address to email us to let us know that that's what you wish to do, and we'll get that information. And now, without further ado, I'll pass this over to Jacqueline Pride, who's one of our consultants at MIG, and she'll go through the overview and the live demo. Jackie, take it away.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Yes, indeed, my name is Jackie Pride. I'm a senior consultant here at MIG, and I am pleased to be with you today to discuss the new features of Dynamics GP 2015. This is my 16th year working exclusively with Dynamics GP, and I'm delighted to share with you some very wonderful changes to the application. Before we go to the next slide, a few high-level notes regarding the new version. It released in December of 2014, so just a few months ago. As you no doubt already know, Microsoft generally supports only 2 versions of Dynamics GP at a time, with some overlap as new versions are released. What this means for those of you currently on GP 2010, that will be supported by mainstream Microsoft support through October 2015. After that, mainstream support will cover GP 2013 and 2015 only. As you can see from this slide, there are some general areas that GP 2015 has focused on. The advent of the cloud, and many of you have heard of Azure by now, means that we are seeing some changes in the GP application, particularly at the system level. And some of these are things that the common users of Dynamics GP aren't going to actually see. It's not going to be evident, but it's there under the covers. One of those changes is the organizational account user authentication. Easy for me to say, huh? All kidding aside, this is related to Azure AD or Active Directory if you're familiar with either of these terms. What this means is it applies to the web client rather than the traditional Dynamics GP application, and it relates to identity management. Identity management allows users to a single secure logon to their organizational account. alleviating the need to have separate logins across their network, SQL, CRM, if you're using CRM, and Dynamics GP. So we're seeing some changes in 2015 relating to that. Another one of the changes is a move towards service-based architecture. Again, this is one of the areas that the everyday user may not see, but this is very important for partners and ISVs, which are independent software vendors, and it is going to give them the ability to create more robust integrations or companion apps in the platform of their choice. And we're going to see that throughout the presentation. There's a big rollout towards other platforms, making it more compatible with other things that you might be doing in your organization. New enhancements to the workflow processing provides additional productivity and control in the Dynamics GP experience. A lot of updates to business intelligence. I'm very excited to show you some of those today. And some of the application changes, you'll see that they focused on productivity and control. Now, if we look at this slide, and we're going to stay here for a little bit, I'm going to walk you through some of the things we're going to see here in a little bit. But you'll notice that there are 5 major areas where changes fall into. The first one is system. So we do see some system changes. Web client, some additional modules have come out with that. Business intelligence, a topic near and dear to my heart. Financials, and distribution. So we're going to focus on these areas today and step through some of these changes in 2015. So if we take a look at the system 2015 changes, a lot has happened here, such as the behind-the-scenes changes I mentioned just a few minutes ago around authentication and architecture. Additionally, we're seeing that we've added some functionality around the copy homepage setting or around the copy user setting, which is to copy homepage. We're also seeing some changes in the area of navigation for Management Reporter. So we're able to see Management Reporter from within our navigation pane, which we have not been able to do in the past. We are also allowing for some changes in the way integration options are handled for Management Reporter, putting the control, again, giving more productivity to the financial staff. Under the web client, we see that this began actually in 2013, and it's continuing to mature with each of the subsequent releases. 2 new modules have been added this round as sort of a phased approach to the development of the web client, and those 2 are invoicing and Canadian payroll. For the business intelligence, a couple of big areas here. Sadly, I find that many GP users are not taking advantage of this rich functionality of Business Analyzer. If you're one of those users, I would like to take a minute to encourage you to listen closely during this section of today's webinar. If you like what you hear, and I strongly believe that you will, please, please reach out to your MIG contact, whoever that is, to get the ball rolling on making the most of Business Analyzer. I really think you'll be happy that you did that. In GP 2015, we are seeing some wonderful new additions in the Business Analyzer. It has been available in the past as a component of your homepage for some time now, displaying KPIs or key performance indicators, graphs, and reports on a variety of topics, all out of the box, no development effort required. I like to emphasize that. It's easy, very easy. And now with 2015, that functionality has been extended beyond the traditional GP user, and the Business Analyzer information is available for consumption outside of GP on a variety of, surprise, surprise, mobile devices, Apple, Android, and Windows. Now this isn't new. They did roll this out for the Windows tablet previously, but in this release we're seeing it also moved into a cross-platform situation where the mobile devices for Windows, Apple, and Android are being included in that. Also under Business Intelligence, the Smart List Designer, which was introduced in 2013, but here again we're seeing a phased approach to development. The second round brings us the ability to create our own refreshable Excel reports. People should be jumping up and down, hooting and hollering right now. This is very exciting. And we're going to take a look at this later on today during our demo. The financial column of information, we are seeing some improvements around the inquiries for intercompany enhancements. Those of you using intercompany today can probably guess what those changes are. I'm told this enhancement was a popular customer request, which, if I can take a minute, is a reminder to all of us that providing feedback really does work. Do not be afraid to share your ideas for improvements with Microsoft. They really do take those into consideration, look at the things that are most commonly asked for, and include those as considerations for future releases. And here is something really, really wonderful, fabulous even. Updates to the payment terms, increasing the number of ways we can calculate terms. You're going to love this. I know I do. In the past, I've gotten rotten tomatoes thrown at me because of the limitations with the existing or the pre-existing payment term calculations. Today, I think you're going to be very pleased with what we're going to see. For my users of fixed assets, we have a new report that prints out at the completion of year-end processing. And last but not least, for the financial modules, we will see a debut of the ability to edit and email historical statements and remittances. And finally, on the distribution enhancements, we're going to take a look at a similar capability on that side of the house, which is the ability to email and edit historical sales order and purchasing documents. And actually, when I say edit, I mean edit the email, not the documents. And finally, we will round up our discussion this afternoon with the new warning message in payables, alerting us when existing purchase order exists for the vendor we are processing. So let's get started on the next slide and take a look at the system-wide features. So we said that those were copy homepage, navigation integration for Management Reporter, and Management Reporter integration options. So what do those really mean? Well, let's take a look. If we go to the next slide, we'll see a screenshot. Thank you. We will see a screenshot of that copy user settings. So those of you who are familiar with the creation of new users in Dynamics GP are aware that there is a feature for copying security settings from one user to another, which is a time savings for system administrators. If you look at this screenshot, you will see a new section added to that copy screen, allowing us to select from the following: homepage role, homepage content, and area pages, greatly increasing the productivity of the folks who are responsible for maintaining users and user security. If we take a look at the next screen, one thing that's been missing from our navigation list is easy access to Management Reporter. We've always had to get out of GP, go into Management Reporter to run our reports. Now in GP 2015, that's been remedied, and we can view, edit, and create Management Reporter reports starting from our navigation list. Obviously, whatever we view there are things that we do have to have permissions to. On the next slide, MR integration options. In the company setup options, now in 2015, you control what data Management Reporter uses for general ledger and analytical accounting. Now, to begin with, to use this feature, in the past, the company integration was controlled from the Management Reporter configuration console, generally by somebody in IT who had to coordinate with accounting on how those settings should be. And now that functionality is being moved to the company setup options so that, again, we have control and productivity for the accounting staff so that they can service those details themselves. All right, so under the web client, we can see that we have added invoicing and Canadian payroll to that list. And let's take a look at the invoicing module. The invoicing has been made available in the Dynamics GP web client for 2015 to provide an option for generating sales documents. And for those of you who aren't familiar with invoicing, that includes sales tax calculations, product pricing, a variety of other typical sales processing activities. And that includes voiding, deleting, printing quotes, orders, invoices, back orders, and returns for customers, as well as allocating and fulfilling inventory items. If we look at the next slide, we will see the Canadian payroll module. And for those of you not familiar with it, the processing of Canadian payroll is now a part of Dynamics GP 2015 web client and includes the setup of classes and default entries to speed up the entry of pay and deduction records for new employees, for the entry of payroll transactions in batches that can be used either one time or on a recurring basis. The preparation of Canadian payroll reports is handled in here as well, and that includes standard reports for Canada, such as the ROE statements and the T4 slips. And lastly, the creation of customized checklist is available in that web client for monthly, quarterly, and yearly processing. Next up, we have business intelligence. And business intelligence covers two main areas that I would like to talk about. And that is Business Analyzer R7. We mentioned earlier that Business Analyzer information is now available for consumption outside of GP on a variety of mobile devices. That companion app was first released in 2013 and has been a huge success with over 20,000 downloads since its initial release. The thing that I find really, really cool is that in addition to that cross-platform capability and just being able to take Business Analyzer information with you wherever you go, or at least wherever you go with your phone, which for most of us is everywhere, we also have the ability in the R7 version to view any management reporter report that we have permissions to within that Business Analyzer. You can also find the Business Analyzer 7 companion app on iTunes, Google Play, and the Windows Store. So if you want to download that, you could go there and tie that in with your Dynamics GP Business Analyzer information. Business Analyzer has always allowed for the viewing of operational reports, but the new functionality provides for the flow through of financial data from Management Reporter to Business Analyzer, centralizing that whole reporting experience of operational and financial data. So if we could take a look at the screens for that. So for Smart List Designer, we'll take a look at that first. Smart List Designer under Business Intelligence, we have continued to add new functionality to this option. So under Smart List Designer, in the past, you may have noticed in GP 2013 R2, we enabled this new button. So if you look at the screenshot, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a button that says New with a little star and a report. And that allowed us to create these Smart List without the use of Smart List Builder. For those of you who are not familiar with Smart List Builder, it was an application that Microsoft offered that allowed us to create our own Smart List objects using any table in the SQL database that we could get to through our instance. So if we had other applications, we could actually pull that information into Dynamics GP, even if it came from a separate third-party application or something totally unrelated to GP. We could view it within Smart List. That functionality of Smart List Builder included the capability of creating Excel reports. And Excel reports have been extremely popular. There's over 200 of them that come canned with the application. And the E1 version of Smart List Builder offered this capability of writing those as well and publishing those. So when Smart List Designer first came out, if we could go back to that slide, when Smart List Designer first came out, we only had the capability of writing the Smart List objects themselves. We had no ability for the creation of refreshable Excel reports. With GP 2015, we do have that capability, and we're going to take a look during our demo at the screens for the Smart List Designer, and now you will see that it includes a publish button that enables us to publish those reports into an Excel refreshable. Okay. So Business Analyzer app, here's the screen for it. A little screenshot of what it might look like on your phone. So you can see here's a screenshot of a couple Business Analyzer reports. And again, you can take it with you on the go. So if we take a look at financials, and we'll note that in the financial application, we said that we added intercompany. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is the fact that intercompany journal entries, first off, we can view them, and secondly, we can now void them. And I'll talk about the differences here in just a minute, or the changes in the new version. We also have the payment term enhancements, the fixed asset year-end close report, and the editing of email. So let's take a look at each one of these. I'm pretty excited to talk to you about the intercompany enhancements on the next screen. Thank you. So if we take a look at this screen, you'll see that I'm showing you the intercompany journal entry inquiry. Now this is, you can access this off of the regular journal entry inquiry. So if you go to Financials, click on Inquiry and then Journal Entry, you will see that there is now a button at the bottom for intercompany. When you click on it, you will be taken to this screen. And the intercompany, the thing that is different now is that both sides, hold on to your seats, both sides of the intercompany transaction can be viewed at one time. So if you're in the origination company, you can see the destination company side of the journal entry. And if you're in the destination company, you can see the origination company's side of that journal entry. In the past, we couldn't do that. What did we do? We logged into the destination company, printed out what we needed, we logged out, we logged into the other company. That's all well and good, but I don't think many of us like jumping back and forth. And especially those of us who have a lot of companies on Dynamics GP that we use intercompany for. So if you had 100 companies and you do intercompany transactions, that's a lot of jumping around. Additionally, and let's go back to that screen real quickly. Additionally, and best of all, when voiding an intercompany transaction, and again, hold on to your seats, both sides of the transaction are reversed. There is no longer a need to go into each of the companies on a given transaction to reverse their respective portions of the journal entry. It is automatically taken care of, and best of all, the posting journal shows the details for all the companies. Again, origination and destination. So remember when I said earlier that several of the focus areas for 2015 were productivity and control. These new features definitely cover both, and your auditors will be happy too. So let's take a look at the next screen for payment terms. Again, greater flexibility to configure payment terms to meet your very specific needs with vendors and customers. Again, falling under that category of productivity and control. We've added some new fields, and those are being able to put in specific dates for payment terms, adding months, adding days to a transaction, next month, and specifying a number of years even to add. So we can we can extend this out beyond just a normal processing cycle for payment terms. Let's take a look at the next slide. Here's a screenshot of the new payment terms setup. And you'll see in that middle section we now have an area that says due date and calculate days from and number of days due. So under that, we've added two new fields for the calculate date from, either transaction date or discount date. And then additional selections were added for the due and discount fields. You can set up payment terms that go way beyond the next month, extending out even a year or more, and best of all for a specific date. And I know some of you have had those needs in the past. So I'm very excited about this new functionality. We're going to see this during the demo. There's something with this payment terms I'm not going to tell you about right now, but I'll show you during the demo that I'm actually most excited about. So let's take a look at, fixed assets. So have you ever ran fixed asset year-end closing processing and wondered, is that it? Ever wondered why there wasn't a report generated? Well, wonder no more, because in Dynamics GP 2015, a status report now prints at the end of the year-end close. And I can say from experience, a number of times I've sat with a client as they went through their year-end processing, and as fixed assets process, they're like, is it done? Is that it? Nothing happened. We're very geared as people to expect a report to generate at the end of something. It's like that signal to let us know that we're finished. So now we have added this. We don't have to log into Process Monitor anymore to see if it's finished. This report will print a list of all the assets that were affected by the year-end close for the book that we are closing. And that report prints out the asset ID, the asset description, cost basis, the year-to-date depreciation, accumulated depreciation, the net book value, placed in service date, depreciated through date, quantity, and status. And the sorting of this report will be by book and then by asset number of the assets within that book. So no more mystery as to which of your assets and books were impacted by the closing of the year. No more wondering if the year-end stored procedure is actually finished. So if we could take a look at distribution. So now you can edit and resend email messages that contain SOP or POP documents that have been sent to vendors and customers. The new option is available from the Sales Inquiry Zoom and Purchase Inquiry Zoom windows. And if the ability to send the documents using email was enabled for that company to start with. So let's take a look at the next screen. This feature enables you to mark multiple documents and send them all through email to an address from the navigation list, because sometimes it isn't the original sender who is requesting the documents. And if we look at the next screen, we can see that we have this capability for historical sales documents, historical purchase orders. On the previous screen, we saw that we had that capability for remittances. So a number of the historical documents that often get requested later by customers or vendors are available for this. So if we go to the next screen, so payables warning when there's an open PO. What does this mean? Well, there's a new warning message added so that when we are putting in payables transactions for a vendor who has an outstanding PO or an uninvoiced receipt sitting out there, it pops up a little message and lets us know that, so that we don't make the mistake of entering something in payables when in fact we had a PO for it and we're expecting to do that three-way matching and have the receipt, the shipper, matched up with the purchase order actual invoice. So that payables warning is there to let us know, keep us from making mistakes. This feature, I might note, is disabled upon upgrading to Dynamics GP 2015, but can be enabled by going to your payables management setups and checking the option to warn if vendor has existing purchase order. For new installs, however, this feature is enabled by default. So just a word of note about that. All right, so who's ready to see a live demo? I am. So I believe that you guys should be able to see my screen right now. And I'd like to share with you about 7 or so of the new features that we talked about earlier. And the first one of those is the Copy User homepage. So obviously security,
Jackie,
so I'm going to click on.
Jackie, we are not seeing your screen.
Okay. Thank you. You should see it any second. Just checking, see if you guys are awake.
Yes, now. Yes.
All right. So on the Dynamics GP, if you look, the look and feel is still pretty similar to GP 2013, R2 in 2013. You see a few different little icons. But if we take a look at the Copy User homepage, when I click on Administration, under System, and I click on User. Now some of you probably know that we have the ability to take a user, set them up, and copy the settings for them from another user. So if I do that, I'm taken to the Copy User Settings screen. And in this I can see that yes, I still have the original copy from user ID to copy the actual security settings. But I also have this new section here for the home page and area pages. And I can check mark those and copy those from yet another user ID if I want. So again, thinking back to the first screen or so that we saw with the productivity and the control, we're giving people greater flexibility just to make it easier when you're setting things up and assigning things to people, both for the system administrator and for the users. Being able to step up into a new position and having the homepage set correctly or the content there being set for your role will certainly do a lot towards your productivity. Really like that new feature, but not as much as I like the next feature, which can be found again under Administration, and this time under the company setups, the payment terms. And remember I said when we looked at this earlier, I'm showing you some of the payment term stuff, but I'm not going to show you the best thing of all yet. So you can already tell by looking at the screen that we have some additional information here. And if I wanted to set up kind of an unusual or complex payment term, let's say it's going to be 60 days from the end of the month plus 5 additional days, something like that. You can see that I have due date from transaction date, and I can add my 60 days or 90 or 120, whatever I desire. And then I also have the ability to say end of month and add 5 days to that. And like always, I have the ability to calculate discount on a variety of checkboxes. And I also have a checkbox down at the bottom that indicates whether or not I should use the customer and vendor grace periods for either date or end of month payment terms. So I could opt to do that. But in my case, I'm going to override it. I'm going to put in this like 5 additional days on mine. So on this particular term, once I set it up, that's all well and good. But in the past, if we created a term, there was really no way to be sure we did it right. If it was something we didn't do very often and we weren't very familiar with the payment term setup, except to go, into the test company, create a test, and then invoice something or apply it to a vendor invoice. But in the new application, and here's what I wanted to show you, we have a calculate button. I love this. I just think it's fabulous. So if I move this down kind of towards the center, you can see that I can pick a transaction date because obviously I'm not in a transaction, but I can choose. It actually selected the date, today's date in my application, which those of you who use Fabricam know that they set it way off into the future. But look at my calculation. Remember, I said 60 days, then end of the month plus 5. So if my transaction date was April 12th, then 60 days would be May, June time frame, but I said end of the month, so that puts it at July plus 5 days. Very, very cool. It also gives me a little note here. This example is not calculated using the customer vendor grace period setting because I didn't choose that. So I can make changes here and click redisplay. I can do little what ifs and see what the impact is on the due dates and discount dates depending on what I've chosen. I think that's wonderful. Anytime you get a little calculate button or can do little pro forma things up there, that's awesome. So I hope that you guys will take advantage of that as well. Do keep in mind, although I'm sure you probably know this, payment terms are shared between customers and vendors. So you will see those options available in both the receivables management and the payables management side of the house. So that was the second thing I wanted to show you out of Dynamics GP 2015. I also wanted to show you under the company setups. So again, if I go under administration and then company and company, for my particular system, if I look down at the bottom and click on options, you will see at the bottom, very appropriately named, is a section that says Management Reporter. And this allows me to enable general ledger reporting in Management Reporter and analytical accounting reporting for Management Reporter. Again, we mentioned this earlier, but this used to be taken care of through the configuration console. So that means if you're a controller and you've set up a new company and you do or do not want it to have any flow through to the Management Reporter, you generally had to go to an IT person and maybe they had to call MIG to find out where is that, because it's kind of hidden in the console. Now we're giving control to the financial staff to determine what gets enabled. Why do we have that? We've got that for better productivity, speed, quickness of the Microsoft Dynamics data mart. So if we have a bunch of companies, but a lot of them are test companies, and we just don't want those to flow through to management reporters so that the data mart runs a little faster, we get to control that. A few little housekeeping notes about it. Obviously, in order to checkmark enable analytical accounting reporting, analytical accounting has to be installed and enabled in your company before you can enable it over to management reporter. I think that goes without saying, but sometimes we forget those little details. And of course we can't enable analytical accounting if we haven't enabled the general ledger reporting to go along with it. So just a couple little details about that. One thing I did want to mention about that is a few more little housekeeping notes. These options, for those to be active, CU11 or Cumulative Update 11 is required. And another word of note, these boxes are unmarked when a new company is created. By default, they are unmarked. Don't forget that. So if you create a new company and then you go over to Management Reporter, you don't want any surprises when you go to run reports on your newly created company. You're like, what? They're not there. But worst case scenario, you'll simply remember my warning, right? You won't say, Jackie's a big fat liar. There's no way to control that, or it doesn't work. Just go back to the company setups under options and checkmark those boxes appropriately. But do remember, you do need to be on Cumulative Update 11 is what is the magic that makes that happen. The fourth thing that I wanted to share with you is in the financial area. And under financial, if you remember, we talked about the ability for the journal entry inquiry to now support intercompany. So for any of my journal entries, if you look at the bottom, I realize it's grayed out. I'm actually in an environment that just has one company, but I do have this intercompany box available. And if the journal entry that I've selected is indeed an intercompany transaction, I can click on that box and I will see all of the journal entries for all of the companies in one viewing. No more need to jump in and out of companies and print that information. I can print it from here, and I'm pleased to report that when you print it, the printed version also shows all of the details, not just the view on the screen. They actually updated the report as well. I know sometimes in the past reports have lingered or gotten forgotten in the rush to get a new version out, but the print version of the journal entry inquiry actually has that distribution across all the companies as well. Very excited about that. One other note about that, if you go in and void those transactions, again, the void is across all the companies. I cannot emphasize what a great feature that is, that finally got added in Dynamics GP. I know it was heavily requested for quite some time, and again, make sure if there's something you would like to see in Dynamics GP, get it out there. Let Microsoft know, because you know, we all matter and we all have a voice in the say of the upgrades to Dynamics GP and what gets included. The next brand new spanking thing that I would like to share with you is the refreshable Excel reports in SmartList Designer. So I'm going to jump back to administration real quickly. And if I go to reports, and I kind of pull these up a little bit so you can see, you'll notice that there is an option now for SmartList Designer. And SmartList Designer, in the past, we've only been able to access it through SmartList and then clicking the new button. So whether I click here and I open SmartList Designer straight away, or if I go to SmartList and click the new button, I get to the same place. But it may save a couple keystrokes, and if I'm somebody who just goes in here often to create things, then that's going to be the case. Be quicker to use that option. So with the refreshable Excel reports functionality that was added in this particular application, there are a couple of housekeeping things as well to talk about. If you want to publish a new report, so if I call this test and I pick a particular product for this, so maybe I'll choose Dynamics GP and something in the sales series, I do need to create my report using a view. So if it's something you're not familiar with, you can always have MIG, or you can have somebody in your IT department write you a view of the data that you could utilize. But that view must be available to SmartList Designer. So you can see here's a list of everything that's out here, and you can check mark whatever view of data that you want to utilize, and so you can click on that. Once you create that, then you can export that, create your smart list, and then you can also create, by clicking on the Publish button up here, you can select any of those, again, that have been utilized through a view or have been written using a view. You can highlight that and click Publish, and then you will have an Excel report written out there. So again, for those of you who might not be familiar on all the variety of applications, all the modules, when you click on it, there's an option for Excel reports. So if you're creating these refreshable Excel reports and publishing them, they will follow the same rules as the normal deployment of reports, and that is whatever location, whether it's a network share or whether it's a SharePoint location, it will be published there based on your setups within the reporting tool setup, and it will be found in the folder of the module that you chose. So in my case, I chose sales, so it would appear in my Excel reports for sales. So if I clicked on Excel reports for financial, I wouldn't see them, but if I went to my sales series and I chose my Excel reports, I would see those listed there. A couple caveats. Obviously, you need to have Excel reports deployed in order to utilize that functionality, and that can be done, again, through the reporting tools setup, just like Management Reporter can be set up, and just like the SSRS reports can be set up. I would like to show you the payables warning. So if I click on purchasing, when I'm in payables, if I already have a purchase order out there in the system, and I logged on earlier, I confess, and put a purchase order out there for today's activity. If I go into regular payables transaction entry, and I click on a vendor who does have a purchase order out there, and put in a document, once I get done and I'm ready to actually save that into a batch or post it, either one, once I get ready to do that, if I have Analytical installed, it'll let me know. But the next screen will be that the vendor has an existing purchase order, and it will ask me, do I want to continue to go ahead and post and save? In other words, yeah, I know, I'm fine with that. Or I can cancel, go talk to somebody if I'm unsure. Or I can click the Go To button, and it'll take me to a navigation area where I can have a look and do a little more research. So if I say continue, it goes on and it saves it. So no harm, no foul. It's just a warning. It's just a little FYI. It's not a hard stop. Nice little feature. Might save somebody from making a mistake someday. The Business Analyzer. I love this topic, if you couldn't tell. Business Analyzer. If you have Business Analyzer and you're utilizing it on your home page, you'll have a little section here with some reports. And in my case, if I wanted to have it on my phone, I could go to the Windows App Store. So I created a little link here so we could go to the App Store. And we could see that you do have the ability to install this on your either, again, it could be a Windows phone, so you'd go to the Windows Store, or it could be you're going to iTunes or to Google Play, depending on what your device is. But I wanted to go here, not necessarily just to show you around that particular app download, but they do have photos out here, so you can kind of get a look and feel of what it's like. And it's something like this where you can actually see your reports. And again, those might be management reporter reports if you have permissions to those. And you'll see multi-companies. If you have a multi-company environment, you can choose which one to log into. And then your folders, so you can see either charts and KPIs for sales or a variety of options, and you can click on those right on your mobile device. I'm just amazed at that, of the power of those little tiny phones. So again, if you haven't taken a look at Business Analyzer, by all means, get that going on your GP install, and then take a look at, for your phone, whichever is appropriate, your platform, and download Business Analyzer. It doesn't cost anything. Get that going and have a look, and send me an email. Let me know how you like it. I think you'll be really, really pleased. So that's all that I had.
Somebody had asked that question. Yeah, somebody had asked the question about is Business Analyzer free as part of, or GP 2015, is it a separate product? So I think this answers that question. So anyway, yes. Continue. I just wanted to make sure.
Absolutely free, and that's another reason why I wanted to go to this. I mean, obviously I can't show you my phone. It's a little bit problematic during a webinar, but I could go here and show you some screenshots of what those look like, at least on the Windows phone. So that wraps up the demo portion, and I think we have 5 minutes left for questions. Obviously, we've answered one. Somebody asked if that was free, and absolutely it's free, and why not take advantage of something like that? How often do you get something from Microsoft that's free that has so much power to it?
Why don't you turn over control back to us, and then we'll go ahead and go to the Q&A period. So for the moment, if you want to start entering your questions in the Q&A in the question box below, please do so for the moment, and then we'll do it. And then Jackie, if you could just recap a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So we took a look at quite a lot of stuff. I realize I went through it very quickly. I would love to have more time to talk about these with anybody who has additional questions. But I think the main focus is kind of 3 areas, if I may, and that is the architecture. So the architecture of GP is changing to accommodate the GP client, making it a better application. And that whole idea of control and productivity, allowing folks to have the ability to, control their destiny. I get to decide as the controller whether or not the management reporter data in a particular company flows through to management reporter. So those are the areas I think that most signify the changes in GP 2015. The business intelligence portion of it, that whole Business Analyzer piece and the refreshable Excel reports, showing that we're getting stronger applications into the hands of the users without needing to have a whole army of developers to make it happen. All I have to do is go to the App Store, install, and as long as I have Business Analyzer running on my GP, I'm going to see those reports. That's really powerful, very powerful. And I didn't have to have a developer take my iPhone for a week to make that happen. So did we get any additional questions? I know we've got about 3 minutes left.
Yes. Okay. Next slide, please. And I do have a couple of questions here. And looks like one question: are there refreshable web reports that a user can access?
refreshable web reports. In terms of, are we talking about Excel reports? Because we definitely do. We have over 200 of those refreshable reports. We also have SSRS, which is accessed through web channels, if you will. So yes, definitely, that's a big part of having that mobility and having the ability to get to our financial and operational data while on the go.
Okay. All right, there's one additional question here. Can you paste journal entries from Excel into GP?
Yes. That functionality actually was part of GP 2013, and let me tell you, when I first heard about this, I thought there is no way that would work. There's just no way. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, that is fabulous. You can. There are basically 4 data elements you need to have on your Excel spreadsheet, and that is your account number, your description of that transaction, a reference, and the debit and the credit. Okay. And it may be 0. You just copy that, go to the first section of your journal entry, and bam, just paste, and it all goes in there. And I'm telling you, it's wonderful. I love it.
Okay. And then I have one more. It's kind of a 2-part question. With the exception of Excel reports, SmartList Designer will replace SmartList Builder? Do you want to know that?
Not necessarily replace it. That product went back to E1. That's a great question. It's not replacing it at all. It's kind of a light version of that functionality. The E1 product will still be available, and E1 is just going to be the VAR for that, if you will, and basically within the Dynamics GP out-of-the-box functionality, we'll have a subset of those capabilities for the average user, encompassing most of the things that they would want to do. If you have more advanced needs, you may still want to talk with E1 or purchase the SmartList Builder functionality. Good question.
Right, and then there's also, if you upgrade from GP 2010 to 2013, do you have to buy a repurchase SmartList Builder? No, you should have to just upgrade that to the new version. Yeah. And then can the reports that were previously designed in SmartList Builder be read in SmartList Designer?
That is a good question, and I have seen that done. I don't recall the level of effort to make that happen, but yes, I have seen that done.
Okay. All right. That's our final question. And for the sake of time, someone asked to be shown about the reports. But for the sake of time, we need to, we usually try to keep our webinars within an hour, so we want to make sure to do that. So I'll be giving you an email address in just a moment, and please follow up with us, and we will be sure to answer your questions. Just real quickly, MIG does offer various levels of support plans that are annual support plans. They work with all Microsoft Dynamics products and all our related third-party add-ons. And they're fixed-rate plans that you pay once a year, so it makes it you're generating less invoices for support. Contact us for more information about these plans at info@mig.com. Also, because we're up against on the window here, just please make sure any final questions you have, be sure to email us, and we'll follow up with you on any of those questions on that. And then at the end of this webinar, obviously right now, a survey will appear. The survey was designed to help us evaluate and improve our webinar, so please take a few moments to provide us with any feedback you have. And we want to thank you for attending this webinar. If you have any questions, thank you, Jackie, for the great presentation. And if you have any questions, or if you're taking this for CPE credit, please feel free to also contact us at info@mig.com. Thank you very much for attending.